Hello all of you knowledge seekers and welcome back to Knowledge with Alar. In this video we will continue with Modern Value Investing by Sven Carlin. We will continue on chapter 5 of this book where we continue with learning the tools. So here are the next 4 tools on how to evaluate companies. We are continuing with reading the Modern Value Investing by Sven Carlin. So we have reached the book 2 where we do all the technical stuff on how to evaluate companies. In the previous episode we started looking at different tools. If you haven't seen all the previous parts about Modern Value Investing, I really recommend you go to my channel, check out the previous videos, and if you like my videos, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. So now we get to intrinsic value calculations. So what is an intrinsic value? The percentage change in book value in any given year is likely to be reasonably close to that year's change in intrinsic value. Warren Buffett. So Warren Buffett has a nice definition for intrinsic value. Intrinsic value is the discount value of the cash that can be taken out of a business during its lifetime. Even if it is impossible to calculate intrinsic value with 100% accuracy, it is always a good idea to try. The more effort you put into calculating your intrinsic value, the more you learn about the company. You start to understand what the risks and what the rewards about the company are. And if you do intrinsic value calculations for each company the same way, then you start to see what companies are better than others. If you own a restaurant, you don't care what the price of the company is at any given time. You only care about what profits it is making for you. And when you are investing, you should take the same mindset. It doesn't matter what the stock price is at any given time. If the company's earnings are growing, then you should be completely fine. Tool number 6, measuring intrinsic value. So to measure intrinsic value, you have to look for what has happened in the past, what is going on at the moment, and what can happen in the future. To see how the company has been doing in the past, you can check the change in book value. But this only takes the past into account and cannot be used to predict what will happen in the future. If you are not planning on selling the company anytime soon, then it's really important to see what the earnings are doing at the moment and in the past. If the earnings have been growing year by year, then you should be completely fine. When you are calculating intrinsic value, you see how much the company has been earning in the past and you take an average percentage and you use that to see how much the company can grow in the future. And doing that you have to take cyclicality and economical state into account for. And when you take future into mind and when you are predicting what the earnings will be in the future, really you have to be conservative. If the company says that it's going to do 20% in the next year and then 15% in the next 5 years, then be conservative. Use 5% for the earnings. That way you will have margin of safety while you are searching the right company for you. Tool number 7, return on invested capital. It's obvious that if a company generates high returns on capital and reinvests at high return, it will do well. But this would not sell books, so there's a lot of twaddle and fuzzy concepts that have been introduced that don't add much. Charlie Munger. So return on invested capital is basically net income divided by capital. If you use different tools to calculate intrinsic value, then you get a range of valuations which will tell you if a company is a good investment or not. The change in book value shows how the company has been doing in the past. Present earnings show how the company is doing at the moment, and return on invested capital will show how things could be in the future. If you find a company with a good return on invested capital and it is trading at a bargain, then you get a good margin of safety. If you expect 10% on your investments, when you are calculating intrinsic value, you have to use 10% discount. That way you can make sure that you get your required return no matter what. So basically you are evaluating everything with a pessimistic view and then add a 10% discount on top of that. If you find a suitable investment, you go for it, you might keep it for life. And yes, on the way there, you have to say no maybe hundreds of times, but when you do find it, it is worth the wait. Tool number 8. Growth is a key component of value. A value investor can't say that a growth stock is bad and risky and a value investment is good and safe. You have to combine the two. Growth is the main component of value. If you do your intrinsic value calculations, you have to take growth into the calculations. And growth can either raise value or destroy it, because growth that destroys value burns cash and can lead to a bankruptcy. And when calculating growth into intrinsic value, you have to be conservative. If the company has been growing 15-20% per year and promises to grow 12% in the future, it is safer to use like 5%. It simply gives you a margin of safety. Even if the company does 12%, even better, you will just simply make more money. But if you keep the risks minimal, then your returns will be higher. It is important to minimize loss rather than seek high returns. Tool number 9, the cyclically adjusted price to earnings ratio, or CAPE. The difference between CAPE ratio and PE ratio is that PE only uses 1 year's earnings. Using only 1 year's earnings can be very misleading. It depends on the economical state and cyclicality a lot. And if the company sells assets, then it can really bring up the earnings of 1 year. But in the larger picture, the company isn't on that level that the 1 year's earnings have been showing. And that can affect PE drastically. CAPE ratio uses the earnings of 10 years to smooth out the fluctuation of earnings. And nobody really likes to use CAPE ratio because it brings out the dangers in the market. And nobody wants to be afraid. Everybody wants to believe that the market will keep on going on forever. And at the moment, if you look at the S&P PE versus CAPE ratio, you can see that the PE is around 20, but the CAPE ratio is around 30. So guys, this was the end of chapter 5 of Modern Value Investing by Sven Carlin. So these were the first 9 tools to use on evaluating companies. There are many more to come, so stick with me. So guys, thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and please leave me a comment down below. I would really appreciate it, and see you in the next video. Bye.